Happy Wednesday. Welcome back to the Lorden Arts channel. I'm John Lorden, and today we're doing a little bit of a Searchlight update. This is a case that we covered many years ago. We also had an update episode on it back in 2019. The title of that was New Hope for Michelle Parker, and we're here again talking about another new hope for this case. This is a case where you might remember we've been in contact with Michelle's father and stepmother. I've had conversations with them and made them a promise that we're not going to let go of this case until they have the answers that they're looking for. And thankfully, there's other people feeling that same way. This thing is not going away anytime soon, especially with this latest development. What is that? Let's take a look at it together. Over at mynews13.com, here's a picture of Michelle. An anonymous donor came forward with a $200,000 reward for continuing the search for Michelle Parker, an Orlando woman who has been missing since November 17th, 2011. The 33-year-old was last seen after dropping off her twins with their father and her ex-fiancé, Dale Smith, at his Orlando home. Parker had appeared with Smith on an episode of The People's Court on the day that she disappeared. The Orlando Police Department named Smith a prime suspect, but never charged him with a crime. If you don't remember, they were fighting over, I believe it was an engagement ring, if I recall correctly. They were staying at a hotel somewhere, got into an argument. I think she threw the ring, and ultimately in the People's Court episode, I believe the judge found them both partially responsible and just basically split the cost, I believe, between both of them. But the day that episode aired, actually right around the time of it airing in that local area, all of a sudden she disappears. There is a sighting of her vehicle at one point, but they can't tell who's driving it. Her cell phone is found under a bridge. That's about the high level on the case. But now an anonymous donor really stepping up, trying to move things forward here. The family hopes the new reward money will bring forward information from someone who knows something about Parker's whereabouts or something that could lead to an arrest in the case. It's actually phrased in a pretty unique way. We'll get to that by the end of the episode. The donor requested that the money go through the family, not through Crime Line. Police said they'll take a tip any way they can get it. So also because of that condition, the contact information for this case, just a little different, but we do have that in the description box down below if you have information on this case. We firmly believe someone out there does, and $200,000 sounds like a pretty big reason for someone to step up and do the right thing here. Over at WFTV.com, search for Michelle Parker continues with new tip. So the information comes out about the $200,000 reward, and all of a sudden, a bunch of new tips get called in. Investigators are following up on one of the 20 tips that have been called in since a new reward was posted. Without revealing exactly what the tipster said, police believe one tip was credible enough to issue a search of the woods near Port St. John. The Parker family spent Saturday morning alongside investigators. Quote, "I didn't even know this area existed, but now that I look at a map, it's possible," said Yvonne Stewart, Parker's mother. I'm not finding information about why this location might be feasible or not. My suspicion is that this location could be perhaps on the way to a relative of the Smith family or possibly close to some property that the Smith family might own. Something like that would be kind of my hunch on this, but Central Florida search and rescue volunteers teamed up with police to scan the area with ATVs and 7 canine dogs, while the Winter Park JROTC scanned overhead with drones. Parker's sister said that while they're extremely appreciative, experiencing this is not easy. Quote, "It's been 11 years, so it almost feels like it didn't happen, but it did, and we have to relive that." She also said that they're grateful that even 11 years later, people care about Parker. People do care about Michelle Parker, and not just about Michelle Parker, but about all of the family members, all of the friends, all the other lives that have been affected by this, her children. You don't know how strong you are until you have to be, her sister said. We told her we will never give up, so we won't. What was that interesting phrasing in terms of the new offer? $200,000 reward for tip leading to arrest or her location. So this isn't even necessarily tied specifically to finding the location of Michelle Parker. If someone out there has information that leads to an arrest of the person responsible, law enforcement has been pretty open about who their big person of interest is in this case. That could be enough to get this reward as well. And it's really not often that I see things phrased like that. So I just wanted to point that out. I also want to say a big thank you to the person that stepped up in this way to try to help this family. This is pretty amazing. I wish we would see this more in several other cases, but we also need to see this one solved. So if you have information on this case, I think it's time to call it in. Contact details that you need in the description box down below. If you don't have information on this case, it's still important that we keep the awareness up about this case. We need to keep talking about it. We need for the person that has that information to hear that this talk is still going on. Maybe they don't know about this new reward. Maybe they will after you talk about it. Who knows? So let's do everything we can to try to help this family and find justice for Michelle and her friends, family, and children. Thank you so much for your time here today. Please join me again on Friday with a brand new episode of Brain Scratch right here on the Lord and Arts channel.